We're going to try. The verses from here on out are pretty much self-explanatory and really get right down to the nitty-gritty, and not a whole lot of explaining has to happen because it's at the end, and we've gone through we've gone through the entire book of Revelation, and we're towards the end here. We started looking at the God's city, the New Jerusalem, last week, and we're going to kind of finish up there real quick. It's the last vision given to John we talked about. We're going to talk about the city's citizens and the provisions that are there. So we're going to look at the citizens of the great city and the provisions of the great city. We'll start right there with the citizens. So John says that there are 6 things in these verses here that he notices about the citizens of this new area. And so the first one is that they are from the nations of earth. And it says in verse 24, chapter 21, verse 24, it says the nations. So that means every tribe, every part of this world, every nook and cranny that we can think of will have people that are there that have accepted Jesus Christ. It's not just the Jews. It's just not people from it's all over the place. Every nation will have representatives. Wow. And even though we're all considered that part of the family of God, it's still interesting to me that he still calls them the nations as they come into here. And so it's the nations that we're looking at. They walk in the light of God's city. So they will walk by its light. The light of God. So that means that these people, these Christians, these that have accepted Jesus Christ, will walk in that light that's pure, that light that is holy, that's set apart by God Himself. And so as we walk in that light, it's stuff that we have on this earth, stuff that we have here, are going to be gone. You know, I get up in the morning and sometimes I'm too tired to open my Bible and read. Well, guess what? That won't happen anymore. As a matter of fact, you won't even need to sleep. Everything will be fantastic and be perfect. We are there in the light, and not only that, we're going to see in a second that we will be in God's presence whenever we want to be. Whenever, remember, he walked in the garden of Eden when he was talking about Adam and Eve, and he walked there in the coolness of the evening just to talk with them and to celebrate with them and to have them worship him. We get to have that now. We get to be there. He gets to call us by name, and he gets to walk with us. I picture us being like little kids around somebody that we love so much, and God walks through the garden, and he's walking down the pathway, and all these people are running up to hold his hand. And he's there with us. And we see him face to face. We walk in his light. All the nations, all people, all different tribes, all different... We talked earlier. We divide everything up in this world. We have red skins, we have black skins, we have white skins, we have yellow skins. Why it's all red blood. We're all Christians. And it won't be great when we don't have a this history month and this history month, huh? When it's just, you are here. This is God's month. Wow. I look forward to that. The nations will walk by its light, the light of the city. The nations are kings. The people are kings. The kings of the earth will bring their splendor into the city. There's a lot of speculation on what that means that nobody really knows. But we're told that we're going to rule and reign with Christ. And we looked at that when we talk about the millennium. So how does that equate out to the rest? Who knows? Who cares? This is where it gets pretty easy. If God says, "Hey, I want you to go clean up that trash," guess what? I'm going. Huh? If God says, "I want you to sit down with me today and just sing praises," guess what? I'm going. Huh? I don't care about being a king. I don't want to be a king. I want to worship the King of Kings. That's the whole point. But it says all nations, every tribe, all people will walk in the light of the city, and the kings of the earth will bring their splendor into it. The things that we have will just glorify God as we come in. 1 Corinthians 2:9 says, "However, as is written, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love him. We can't even begin to imagine what heaven's going to be like. I can speculate all day long, and it won't come close to what it's going to be. Oh, man. And I've been all over the world, and I've seen beauty. I mean, even places I don't want to ever go back to, there was beauty there. But it will just pale in comparison. Hey, when you've got a city that would we say 1,500 miles wide and long, and and streets of gold. I've never been someplace like that before. Huh? Oh, I've been in some magnificent cathedrals that have a lot of gold in them, but even that will pale. Won't even compare. Because we were told last week that the gold is almost crystal clear. Wow. I can't comprehend that. I can't comprehend that. No human mind has conceived the things God has prepared for those who love him. Wow. So then they have a constant access to God. I look forward to that. On no day will its gates ever be shut, for there will be no night there. As it was in the old days, the gates would get closed on many cities at night so that the riffraff couldn't come in. Now, the riffraff is probably already inside, but, the gates of God's city will never close. We talked about last week that the gates are one pearl each, huge gates, and that there's an angel standing at the gate. Why? To give him something to do, I guess. Because the gates will never be closed. He's not going to keep anybody out. Who's he going to keep out? Because we're coming to worship the King of Kings. Wow. On no day will its gates ever be shut. I hate to say it, but if you show up here during the day, during the week, the gate's shut. The door's locked. Because I'm not here. All right? God will always be there. Wow. He doesn't go on vacation. He doesn't need a fill-in. He's always there. On no day will the gates of the city be shut, and there will be no night there. It says that they will bring the glory of their nations into the city. Verse 26. The glory and honor of the nations will be brought into it. The glory and honor of the nations. Basically, it's saying the glory and honor of the people that are coming into the city will come in to worship him. How often will they come in? I don't know. It may be daily. It could be yearly. It could be like it is in Jerusalem. If they set up a time and they show up. But people will come. And what do we say? That there's plenty of room for billions in the city itself. Wow. And the glory and honor of the nations will be brought into it as we come in to worship him. I said, I've heard singing that's so magnificent, and it will come just pale in comparison to having 1 billion people praising God at the same time. Oh, man. Wow. And as much as I like to sing off-key, that won't happen anymore. And as much as I like to sing the wrong words, I like to do that a lot. That won't happen anymore either. But I just want to sit back and listen to everybody else sing. Oh, man. Wow. And they are guaranteed a perfect life and service. Verse 27. Nothing impure will ever enter this. It will ever enter it. Stop right there. Nothing impure. No longer will there be pain. No longer will there be sin. No longer will there be a heartache. No longer will there be tiredness. No longer will any of the things that we go through today, it will not happen in the city of God. Nothing will affect us that way. Nothing impure will ever enter it, nor will anyone who does what is shameful or deceitful. Well, guess what? They won't even be there. But only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. Wow. No more witnessing. Because everybody already knows Jesus. And all you'll be able to do is sit around and all you'll be able to do. It makes it sound like you get to talk to each other about Jesus. Huh? How about running up and sitting down with Peter and talking to him about Jesus? Huh? Or going and talking to Abraham about Jesus. Huh? Abraham, what did you think when you were told you're going to have a baby in your old age? And I think, oh, here come the diapers. Wow. Only those whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Everything else, all the deceit, all the lying, all the cheating, all that stuff is gone. Is gone. Wow. That's the citizens. How about the provisions of the great city? He says there's about 7 things here. He says there in the middle of the city is the river of life. Then an angel showed me the river of water of life, as clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb. It goes on. It's down the middle of the great street of the city. Is it something that's physically there? I think it is. It says it is. There's others say, oh no, that's just figurative. It's a city. We're told we're going to have water to drink. We're going to eating. There's a river of life that flows from, and guess where the headwaters are at? God's throne. Oh, man alive. That's where it starts from. And so you know it's nothing but pure. It's pure life is what it is. And it's flowing down the center of that city. That we think the Mississippi's big? Wow. Flowing down the middle of the great street of the city. Not only that, it's flowing down the middle. You got the road. You got gold on this side, gold on this side, and you got the river of life right through the center of it. Wow. Guess what? There's a tree of life also. On each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, yielding its fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. 12 crops. Hey, anybody ever grown one of those trees, those apple trees that have the 3 different apples on them, 3 different types of apples? You know, it's still, it comes a point where there's nothing left on it. The apples are gone. But in God's city, the tree of life produces constantly. Every month it produces. Every month it produces. And the leaves are there to heal the nations, to heal us of all the stuff that we have here on this earth, the stuff that we don't even need to worry about anymore. They're there. But we have the tree of life. Remember, that tree of life was what Adam and Eve could eat in the garden. Remember which tree it was they couldn't eat of? The tree of knowledge of good and evil. The tree of life was there to provide them eternal life. Wow. On each side of the river stood the tree of life. Get that? On each side of the river stood the tree. This is a huge tree. Has to be a huge tree. Billions of people. Huh? And it's on both sides of the river. I can picture it going up. It's almost like a Disneyland ride. You go through the center of the tree. Wow. Wow. There's no more curse. No longer will there be any curse. No longer will you toil with soil that's no good. No longer will you be in labor pains. No longer will all the things that came about because they ate of the wrong tree are gone. That's the curse. That's the curse. The curse of not being with our Lord and Savior and worshiping Him the way He deserves to be worshiped. We'll be able to do that. We'll be able to do that. Then there's the throne. We already talked about the river flows from the throne. It says the throne of God and of the Lamb will be in the city, and His servants will serve Him. It goes on, and they will see His face. They will see His face. I love the songs that talk about that soon our faith will be sight. In other words, if I have faith right now, but it's here, it's inside. Oh, I can see things. I can see God's working, but there's a time coming when I will look him right in the face. Remember, Moses couldn't even look him in the face. Wow. Because if he did, what would happen? He would die. But there's a time coming when we gather around the throne of God and we can look him in the face and see him smile. Because we have been created in God's image. Huh? We get to laugh. We get to smile. We're the only creatures that get to laugh. Huh? Laughing hyenas don't really laugh. You know. We laugh. That means God laughs. And he laughs at some of you a lot. Huh? He shakes his head at me a lot. So. And there is the name written on foreheads. And his name will be on their foreheads. Remember, the Antichrist had his name stamped also. But those that have accepted Jesus Christ, his name will be on their foreheads. It's like I've told you before, the Toy Story thing where they lift up their foot and they see Andy's name written on the bottom of their foot. That means I belong to Andy. Huh? I belong to God. Oh, man. I want that tattooed on my head. I don't want any other tattoo. But I want everybody to know, which is strange because everybody will belong to him anyhow. But I want everybody to know I'm God's. I'm his child. Wow. There's eternal light. It says, and there will be no more night. They will not need the light of a lamp nor the light of the sun, for the Lord God will give them light. And it beams off of that city. Beams off the gold, off that crystal clear water. Oh, man. No longer will there be a moon that looks like our moon here lately. Wow. And there is eternal work and service for us. He says, and they will reign forever and ever, talking about the nations. And they will reign forever and ever, whatever that means. I may be reigning over a crop of corn. Who knows? Huh? I don't care. I don't care. They better care because I can't raise corn for beans, or beans either. I will. That's right. I'll be given that gift, yeah. But we get to be able to do those things. So we've talked about the city. And we've talked about the inhabitants of the city. We've talked about the provisions that are in the city. We've gone through the entire book. We were there when Jesus came among the lampstands and told John to send these letters out to the churches. We were there when they said who is worthy to break the seal, and John cried and bawled because he just nobody would answer. And then finally Jesus comes out and they break the seals. And he was there when the trumpets were sounded and all the death and destruction and stuff that fell from the sky and rivers that dried up. And he was there when the bull judgments were given out and people continued to die and they continued to ignore God. And he was there when when the Antichrist was bound and cast out, him and the false prophet. And he was there when the millennial reign took over. And he was there when Satan was released and yet defeated at the end of that 1,000 years. And we've seen where John saw the new Jerusalem coming down out of heaven. And he saw the new earth, the one that God originally wanted for us, the one that Adam just destroyed by eating what he was told not to eat. We've seen all that. We've seen all that. But now the Lamb has overcome. There are 7 facts given by John in the last part here. And the first one is, the message is trustworthy and true. Revelation 22:6. And the angel said to me, these words are trustworthy and true. No lie here. You can count on it. You can take it to the bank. Huh? The Lord, the God who inspired the prophets, sent his angel to show his servants the things that must take place, soon take place. Think about that. The God who gave the prophets their visions that we've seen come true. We've seen things that have happened. We've read about it, and then we've seen it happen. The same God that gave them their visions has given John his vision. Is there any reason to doubt that it would change? Is there any reason to doubt that what he gives John is just made up? Our God doesn't make things up. Our God doesn't lie. His words are trustworthy and true, and it will happen. If it happened long ago to the prophets, it happens now. The second thing is that the message will bring a blessing to the person who keeps the prophecy of the book. Look, I am coming soon, Jesus says. Blessed is the one who keeps the words of the prophecy written in this scroll. Blessed is the one who keeps the words of the prophecy. You can't be blessed if you never read them. You can't be blessed if you never study them. You can't be blessed if people come up and start talking about Revelation and you can't answer any of their questions. But praise God, if you've been here for the past year, we've gone through this. Does that mean you stop? No. Every time I read it, I learn something new. It's called the living Word of God. And it's what you need at the time that God gives you. And I have those oh wow moments where I've read the same thing 100 times, 101st time, it's like, where did that come from? That has never been there before. Oh yeah, it was. But God's telling me this time, you need it now. You need it now. And if we don't study this book particular, then we miss out on everything. I am coming soon. But there's people who don't know that. And there's preachers that aren't preaching that. And why don't they preach it? Because their people don't want to hear it because it's scary and spooky. Huh? Guess what? I think that when they stand around and see all the garbage that's going to happen to them, that'll be scary and spooky too. A lot scarier and spookier than studying the Word. Because blessed is the one who keeps the words of prophecy in the scroll. The third fact. The message stirs worship. And I, John, am the one who heard and saw these things. And when I had heard and seen them, I fell down to worship at the feet of the angel. Remember, that's the second time he's done this now. Who had been showing them to me. But he said to me, don't do that. I am a fellow servant with you and with your fellow prophets and with all who keep the word of this scroll. Worship God. Boom. End of conversation. The angel's telling John, don't worship me, worship God. That's who we're supposed to worship. I'm just like you. Now, granted, I'm an angel and you're a man, but guess what? We worship the same God. That's what we're supposed to do. Don't worship me. Don't even put me on a pedestal. Don't do anything like that. I have to tell you, there's a lot of preachers today that if you don't put them on a pedestal, oh, they feel bad. They think they're the greatest thing since Post Toasties. Do they still make Post Toasties? Guess what? They're no different than anybody else. Wow. And the angel's saying, I'm no different than you. I'm no different than the prophets that came before you. I worship God, and you need to worship God. And he's telling us we need to worship God the way God deserves to be worshiped. Fact 4. The message is to be read and studied by all. And then he told me, do not seal up the words of the prophecy of this scroll, because the time is near. Let the one who does wrong continue to do wrong. Let the vile person continue to be vile. Let the one who does right continue to do right. And let the holy person continue to be holy. Daniel had some of his prophecy, and they were told to seal it up until the end times. John's been told, there's only one little section where John was told not to write this down. We don't know what's in there. But everything else, they said, make sure everybody knows about it. Make sure they study it. Make sure they know. We talk about, well, when you can see the sun without the smoke, if the sun's in the morning, sailors take warning. Huh? Remember the old dumb little, if the sun's red at night, sailor's delight type thing? It says, if you can read the weather, why can't you read the end times? If we don't know what the end times look like, how will we know when they're coming? We need to study them. We need to continue to be in them. We need to continue to read them. I would encourage you to read Revelation at least once a year. I would continue to read it constantly. 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 The fifth fact. The message focuses upon the Lord's return and judgment to come. Look, I am coming soon. Jesus is saying that again. My reward is with me, and I will give to each person according to what they have done. Ooh, we've heard that before. I am the Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. He has always been there, always will be there. He is coming soon. We say, well, that was 2,000 some odd years ago, almost 2,000 years ago when John wrote that. And guess what? It's a lot closer today than what it was in John's day. He's coming soon. Fact 6. The message tells us who will be accepted by the Lord. Blessed are those who wash their robes, that they may have the right to the tree of life and go through the gates into the city. Blessed are those who wash the robes. Wash them what? Wash them in the blood of Jesus Christ. Those that have accepted him. Blessed are those that get to go into the city. Blessed are those, because guess what? If there's a passage that says these are the ones that are making it in, guess what the next passage is? The ones that ain't getting in. Huh? Blessed are those who wash their robes, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may go through the gates of the city. Yeah, those rejected. Outside are the dogs, the scum, the dregs, those that want to come in. Huh? Outside are the dogs, those who practice magic arts, the sexually immoral, the murderers, the idolaters, and everyone who loves and practices falsehood. Don't confuse falsehood with kidding. Huh? Everybody says, well, you lie about Joni all the time. Not really. She's got a lead foot. I'm kidding. But there are people who say, well, that's just an out-and-out lie. And I always ask them, have you ridden with her? But the people that tell the lies, and we have many of them in our world today, don't we? They will be outside. Never again. To get there's that chasm, that big void between the gates of the city and the fire and brimstone and the lake of fire. Fact number 8. The message is proclaimed by the Lord Jesus himself. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony. Get that. There again, here's one of those aha moments for me. I, Jesus, have sent my angel. Wow. His personal angel is who he sent. I have sent my angel to give you this testimony. So here's the angel that John's been talking to is the right hand person for Jesus Christ. Wow. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David. I am the bright morning star, that very first star that's so bright in the sky, that very first one. Fact number 9, the message offers the greatest invitation ever extended to mankind. The Spirit and the bride say, come. And let the one who hears say, come. Let the one who is thirsty come. Let the one who wishes take the free gift of the water of life. We need to say, come. We need to proclaim that loud and strong. We've heard the message. We've heard Jesus call us. We need to tell others to come. We need to have them accept that invitation. We need to broadcast it loud and strong. We need to let others know that the time is coming and that they're thirsty, and we know their soul's thirsty, that they need to come in so that they can drink of the river of life, so that they can eat of the tree of life, so that they can walk through the gates of that magnificent city. Wow. Number 10, the message must not be tampered with. I warn everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this scroll. If anyone adds anything to them, God will add to that person the plagues described in this scroll. And if anyone takes words away from the scroll or of prophecy, God will take away from that person any share of the tree of life and in the holy city which are described in this scroll. When a lot of people talk about Revelation, there's things they leave out. And there might be things they add. He's a loving God, and nobody is ever going to be destroyed. He's going to accept everyone. Okay, we have like one more verse to go. Did you hear that in the book of Revelation? I never heard it. Huh? So how can they say that? How can they say that? There are some religions that tell us that mankind was actually a god at one time. I think they've kind of added something that I was unaware of. There are others that say only a certain group that are getting in. We just read that all nations will have people there. Huh? Wow. But those that add to and those that take away will be cast out. They have no business in the city. Number 11. The message closes with the greatest of all assurances. And he who testifies to these things says, yes, I am coming soon. Amen. Come, Lord Jesus. He cannot come soon enough for me. The grace of the Lord Jesus be with God's people. Amen. So Jesus says, he who testifies these things says, yes, I'm coming soon. And John says, come, Lord Jesus. And he says, the grace of the Lord Jesus be with God's people. Amen. Grace. I saw something this morning, and I want to share it with you as we close, about grace. Grace. Pretty simple. Here it is. God's riches at Christ's expense. I don't know who it is that came up with that, but I thought that was powerful. That is just awesome. God's riches at Christ's expense is grace for us. We have been given that grace. All the riches that God has, he's poured out on us because of what Jesus Christ did for us. His dying on the cross. Because of that, I get to enter that city as a child of God. Wow. Because of what Jesus did for us, I can enter that and I can take that fruit and eat from the tree of life. I can drink from that river. I can see my Jesus face to face and see my God face to face and celebrate with all the saints that have gone on before me. Grace. God's grace. The grace of the Lord Jesus be with God's people. Amen. Amen. This morning as we close, we're going to, Dale had asked me a few months back if I'd ever preach through Philippians. We're going to do that. I know he just had a class in Philippians, and he could probably do a lot better job than what I'm going to do, but that's what we're going to do, because there is some awesome stuff in Philippians. And so that's where we're going next week. We're going to look at Philippians. So if you want to read ahead, you can do that.